all know how difficult it is when we have segregated data in the healthcare system. In today's video, we are going to talk about FHIR, which is a game changer for smooth information flow between various healthcare systems. Hello friends, welcome back to the Project Manager Hero series. I am Kalyani Paude, your host for the session, and today we have Rohit Singh with us, who is Technical Project Manager and having 10 years of experience in the healthcare sector. We will be discussing about how FHIR tackles the complex data, its various uses, the potential it holds for the future of healthcare, and more. We are also going to understand why the FHIR is mandatory in all the healthcare sectors today. Stay tuned to know more and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. So, Rohit, I'm coming with the first question with you. So, how does FHIR facilitates the interoperability between the different healthcare system and the another applications?
All right. Okay. So basically, we would like to first start with what is FHIR. So basically, FHIR are the standards which are developed or proposed by the Health Level 7 organization. It's an international organization which has, proposed some standards for healthcare industry so that the interoperability of the information, the smooth exchange of data can be done with easy and a simple process in a standardized manner. Okay, so it basically ensures it enhance the smoothness in the interoperability of the patient information within the various hospital systems. This is a FHIR resource.
Understood. And what is the key difference between the FHIR and all the previously healthcare data standards which were into the market? So, how is the FHIR bringing the change into the market?
So earlier, like HL7 proposed some, initial standards which were called HL7 V2 message standard, HL7 to V3 message standard. So it was a message format standards. So right now, currently, HL7 is more focused on the FHIR standard. So these are the modern standards. Previous standards were little, complicated in syntax for the developers to understand, to pass the information on client side. So therefore, they improvised on those standards and created the FHIR. So
Okay.
FHIR resources are basically built on modern web technologies. Uh, it uses RESTful API mechanisms. It accepts the JSON data. The data can be structured in XML format as well, as per the requirement of the development. When we were previously working with the old standards, there was less documentation available. There was no community available online where developers or the members can interact about the standards. FHIR is like very evolved these days. We have various communities, various forums online, which developers use to exchange the information or take queries with each other, all these things. So we can say that FHIR are the more advanced and the modern standards which every healthcare is currently trying to opt.
Understood. So, like FHIR keeps on evolving. Like definitely next year smartphone is going to be better than the one which we have this year. So it
Yeah,
keeps on evolving, right?
right. You're right.
Okay, which brings me to the next question. Like, how does FHIR handles the complex healthcare data such as genomics information and imaging data? How does it manage that?
So in FHIR, like the building block of a FHIR is the resource. So each resource, represents the entity of the patient information or the healthcare industry. For example, a resource can be of a patient, a resource can be of a provider, a resource can be of a patient's medication. Okay. So basically, all these are the resources. These are the building blocks of the FHIR, and we have the for the imagery. We have the various other resources, which are dedicated to genomics data only. So on the client side, we can use those particular resources to track or fetch the information of the patient as we required on our side. Okay. And for the imaging, like definitely again we have some specific resources through which we can exchange the image data with FHIR server. It also adheres to the DICOM standards, which are again for image data interoperability. So yes, there are resources available.
And what are the different FHIR implementations, like server, clients, and how are they used in practices?
So basically, in a FHIR, we have one FHIR server, we have one FHIR client. So in FHIR server, which stores the information of the patient, the sensitive information of the patient. It stores, it takes care of the security of the information, right? And also it, expose the FHIR endpoints to the client application in the form of resources. FHIR clients are basically, are used on the front end or the interface of the healthcare industries. So on the client applications, we can consume these endpoints, we can consume these FHIR resources to exchange the information between the FHIR server and the FHIR client. So this is how the FHIR servers and FHIR client works in real applications.
So, can you help me out with some example of healthcare data that can be exchanged using the FHIR resources?
If we talk about the different data, we have the patient information resource. So it basically gives the information, basic information about the patient, the name, maybe you can say the demographics of the patient. We have a resource which gives us the information about the vitals of the patient. We have a resource which gives the information about the appointments that a patient has, undertaken in a hospital. We have a resource which gives us the lab results. So basically there are the various different aspects which we can, fetch from the FHIR resources on the client side application.
Okay. And if you can help me out, like what are some cool things that as a developer or as a techie person we can create using FHIR?
Yeah, so basically we can create mobile applications. In a telemedicine domain, like these days, patient don't want to visit to the hospital. They can, consult the doctors online. So with the help of the FHIR resources, we can build mobile applications which can facilitate the consultation between the patient and the doctors. We can show the information of the patient on the provider side or a doctor side, and the same if the doctor has diagnosed the patient with some information, we can create a mobile application, we can create a web application that would help the patient to understand the information about the doctor, the prescription they have written to them, the diagnosis, the problem that they are undergoing. So these are the basic applications that we can create using these FHIR resources. Even we can create the wearable applications which may be a wearable software of a watch which tracks your heart rate and then transmits the information to the FHIR servers or to your doctor on a real time. So these are the quite few areas where these applications can be implemented.
So, can you help me in terms of how could we explore the potential of FHIR to facilitate the interoperability in research and clinical trials?
So, in clinical trials, I would say definitely we have a scope to integrate FHIR resources. In a clinical trials, I would say we can take the real time updates of the patients. If you are if a patient has been put on trial with some medications, etc., with the help of FHIR resources, we can track the information of a patient in a real time. We can do the analytics of the clinical trials. We can track the data of all the patients involved in the trial. With the help of the FHIR resources, we can fetch the information through FHIR service and maybe do the analytics and populate the important data on metrics on some dashboard on the web application. So these are the various aspects of FHIR resources that we can use on clinical trials.
So, how can FHIR be used to support this specific healthcare use case? Maybe take an example of medication management or population health analytics. So, how does it help over there?
So, if we are talking about medication management, we have like a couple of resources which are provided by the FHIR standards, which are associated with medicines only. So, we have medicine administration, uh, medicine statements, etc. So, these resources can be used in various systems. Like in a pharmacy, you can use these resources to track what the patient is, currently what patient is taking the medications. We can get as a provider with the help of these resources, we can track like what kind of medicines has been administered to patients on a real time. So this is like how we can manage the medicine aspect of the patient. Now if we talk about like the other one, the population, so in that like we can use various other resources like observations. We can use the encounters. uh, we can track all the information of the patient using those resources. And eventually if we are going with multiple patients, we can create analytics out of those resources. We can set up the policies of the healthcare around those conditions, and help the overall healthcare system.
This gives me a broad level understanding of what fire is. But as per your understanding, as per the experience you have into the healthcare, what are the key components of fire and how do they contribute to its functionality?
So I would say the key component of a fire resource of a fire is like the resource itself. So it's a building block of the fire. So each resource, as I said, represents the entity of a healthcare. It can be a patient, it can be a provider, it can be a medicines, it can be an appointment, etc. So what fire has done is like they have distributed the information into segmental building blocks, you can say, or the segmental resources. According to the requirement, we can consume these resources, we can fetch the information, we can utilize that information as per our requirement, and build the applications around that. The second fundamental thing that we have in Fire is obviously uh, the modern support of the modern web technologies, like the REST APIs. They provide the easy, access to their endpoints based on these modern technologies. Uh, we can accept the data in JSON. We can have the data in XML also. So it is definitely helping the developers to build better applications. And obviously, in upcoming days, we would see that more healthcare sectors or industries are going to, opt for these modern fire resources, and more applications coming in the hospital sectors, which can integrate with the hospital system, provide some valuable information to the doctors, create some clinical decision support system using all these fire resources.
So, thank you so much, Rohit, for sharing this information. Today, we understood fire in details. You explained everything in a very simple term which a person can understand. So, thank you so much for sharing your insights.
Thank you so much, Kalyani.